Welcome to the No More Meds podcast with Dr. Corinne Weaver. Are you stressed out because you keep getting sick and don't know what steps to take? Are you sick of not getting answers from your doctor and always needing to take drugs? How would your life be different if you were healthy? Be inspired and stay tuned for some practical solutions for healthy living.
Hello, and welcome to the No More Meds podcast. I am so excited to be here, and right in front of me here in Charlotte, and Integrative Health Carolinas.
Yes,
Is that how it's called? All right. And Dr. Anna Maria Temple is here with me today. And, you know, guys, she has been all over the world learning about holistic medicine. And I can't wait for you to finally hear her story. And if you haven't heard it, now's the time, because she is blowing up all over the media, all over on TV. And she's on her Instagram. Go check her out. Go listen to her stories. And she loves just her passion to help others and to help children. And that's her passion is pediatrics. So today, go ahead and tell us your story. Why are you doing this? Why do you care so much about the children?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad that we get to chat because, right, we go way back and we've been, talking for a long time. But my story actually is, I'm a traditionally trained pediatrician, and it all started in 2007 when all three of my children were super sick. And the little one had seasonal allergies that he couldn't even go outside for an Easter egg hunt, because if he stepped outside, his eyes would swell shut, he would tear from his eyes, and he would writhe in pain on the ground. My daughter, who was 6 at the time, she had asthma, eczema, and allergies. She took inhaled steroids every day, topical steroids, seasonal allergy medications. If she got a cold, it would go to an ear infection or a sinus infection, or she had a virus, it would turn to croup, and it was more medications, and it went on and on. And then the middle one, he was, disgusting. Really? Just disgusting human. From the day he was born, he had snot, like the kind of green snot that, when you see kids on the street, you're like, who's that kid's mother? And why is she letting him out of the house? They were like, not enough tissues in Costco to take care of that nasty situation. On top of that, he had ADHD. Anyway, I took him to the doctor that one day in 2007 because I wanted to get to the root cause of why my kids were so sick. And they were on medications continuously. And when I went to the doctor, they pretty much were like, well, Anna Maria, the little one, he's on so many medications. There's just no more medications that we can give him. He's already on 5. So the only next available option is allergy shots. He was 2 years old. And for my daughter, they were like, well, as long as she takes her inhaled steroids, her asthma will be under control, and applies the topical steroids, her eczema will be under control. And she'll just need to take her allergy medicines. So then her eczema will be under control and her asthma will be under control. And, eventually she'll outgrow it because, kids. And then they were like, as for the middle one, he's just disgusting. Yeah. And obviously, we're just going to have to put him on more antibiotics and clear up his chronic sinus infection.
Right.
You know what? I was 5 years into my medical practice at that time, and that did not sound right to me. I didn't have the right answer, but my mama instinct, the mama bear instinct that comes upon you, and you're like, there's no way that's the right answer, that my children are going to be on chronic medications for the rest of their lives. And it was a week later that I went to my children's school, and there was a nutritionist that was giving a presentation. And it was that day at 7:30 in the morning that the fog lifted and I understood the root cause of my children's illness. All she talked about was sugar. And I went home that evening after work, and I went into the pantry, and to the horror of all my family, I threw out the Lucky Charms and the Cinnamon Toast Crunch and the chicken nuggets and mac and cheese and, the orange crackers with peanut butter, because, protein, and the chocolate milk from their lunch boxes, because,
the Lunchables and all that.
And the Lunchables. I mean, you name a garbage, we had it, and out it went. And that's when I became ostracized from my family, from my friends. My husband and I proceeded to have fights every day for the next 5 years over food. He was like, children are fun. they should have fun food. What do you? And then, my friends thought I was weird. My family, forget it. They're like, you've lost, that's it. You've lost your mind. We're gonna, we're gonna have to cut ties here. And then my partners in my medical practice, I had 24 medical partners. They're like, what weird things are you doing? And where is the medical research?
Always.
Everything you do it, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know where the medical research is, but I really feel in my gut that it cannot be the wrong answer to get rid of garbage and bring fruits and vegetables into my children's diet. Cannot be the wrong answer.
Why do you think in the medical field they don't look at nutrition? Like, did you get that in school? Like, did they talk about food as medicine at all?
17 hours in 4 years is spent on nutrition in medical school.
Wow.
And most of that is G-tube feeds and bolus feeds and what you do when people need peripheral nutrition. One class where it was like, okay, so patient sits in front of you and you want to change their diet. These are some tips you should give them to change their diet. Or this is how food is affecting their health.
Like eat more fruits and vegetables.
Right. Like how do you convince people to eat more fruits and vegetables? That was not covered in med school. And I'll tell you, it's not even now. I think there's a couple progressive med schools, but I'm talking a couple out of the hundreds. And it's just not a priority in medical school at this time. So you don't know.
Do you think that will change?
I think it's changing. I'm seeing the winds of change, but it's slow. Because, medical school is still I'm not sure if it's sponsored by the drug companies. I have never really seen that. That's a lot of stuff that's hearsay and stuff, but they are getting money from difficult medical companies. It's, the farmers markets are not sponsoring med school. And
right.
It would be a different thing. And so you don't know. So you're out there and you end up with, your own sick children and you're at a loss on how to heal them. And then you become the weirdo when you're like, I really think it's in the food and not in the medication. I mean, it is like, you've lost your mind.
Right.
Yeah. And so, over 5 years, my kids got better. They stopped, they stopped having antibiotics. They stopped getting sick. They came off inhaled steroids. They came off allergy meds. And by 2016, we moved to New Zealand with no health insurance, no doctors, no medications. And they thrived. They jumped off the highest bridges and climbed the highest mountains, and everybody's like, what else did you do? I'm like, it was in the food. It was the food that for us, we were always good with fitness and with sleep. Well, the other thing we were terrible at stress. So our stress and our food were the two major things that made a huge difference.
So you basically got to New Zealand, step of faith, went out there and changed your whole family's life. That's amazing. So tell me about that story in New Zealand. How was the food different?
Well, I'll tell you that probably 75% of the food, the chemicals that are allowed in our country are not allowed there. I was telling somebody about sunscreen. I'm so meticulously looking at all the sunscreen ingredients. And when I went to New Zealand, I'm like, they don't even exist here. Like all the ones that I know not to have in the States, there are none of those in New Zealand. So they're allowed in the US, but they're not allowed in New Zealand. And everybody walks around going, oh, it's no big deal. What's in your sunscreen is no big deal. I'm like, if it's not a big deal, how come it is not allowed anywhere else but in the US? So the food is different. The packaging is different. They still have Doritos and Coke, but it's not the same ingredients in the United States. And the people as a culture, they understand pain and they understand that healing takes time and they understand that there's no quick fixes. So it was a pleasure when I practiced medicine there, and I told them that there's no medications for chronic headaches and chronic abdominal pain. Everybody was like, what a breath of fresh air. Right. No, there's not. Right. What should we do? And I was like, you should change your diet, your sleep, your lifestyle. And they're like, well, that sounds really hard, but sounds great. We will give it a go.
Awesome.
And they got better.
And it's so good to hear that, coming from a medical doctor, us as chiropractors, we've had this story for a long time and kind of the same similar story with your kids. I was a sick kid as well. And my parents didn't have you, there wasn't pediatricians like you in the area. And I did the allergy shots. I did the steroids and all of that. And it led me to a sicker kid. And it took, my uncle being natural and getting into the natural realm and learning about nutrition, health, chiropractic, chiropractic. And that's how, obviously that story. So, it's just awesome to hear the medical profession and you like standing up for what you believe in, especially in this day and time with all this going on. A lot of people are just confused on what to do. So what easy steps? I know you have an amazing program. You got lots of programs out there, but this one for the eczema that you have, tell us what you can do for parents that are suffering right now with kids that have eczema and how they can get like linked up to your program.
So, and the beautiful thing about putting an eczema program in place at this time is that everything you're going to do for eczema actually will build your immune system to fight COVID or fight influenza, because as you know, everything that we're doing from the inside out is actually works on all our systems. It's not, when we do a holistic approach to our innards, it's for all the organs. It's not like in the traditional model where I was taught, eczema is the dermatologist and asthma is the pulmonologist, right? And then your allergies, the allergist. In holistic medicine, in functional medicine, whatever we want to call it, is we're actually like, hold up a second, all these systems are related and it's the full body. I don't need a specialist for these problems. I need someone who treats the whole body, because if we treat the whole body from the inside out, we're not going to need medications, to your point of no more meds. And we're able to not only fight eczema, but we're fighting viruses and other things as well. And I would say the first step is understanding that your current lifestyle is most likely not serving you. If you're suffering with anything, if you're from eczema to asthma to allergies to ADHD, what you're doing right now is not serving you, and you're gonna have to change. Change is very hard, and I think most people usually kind of like, let me turn this off because I don't want to.
Right. They just want the easy pill. Tell me what the easy pill is.
That's right. And then they go, well, I'm not into medications, but what is the easy fix? I'm like, yeah, it's not. So we have to have a mindset change. So clearly what you're doing is not working, and you keep doing the same thing over and over again, right? Definition of insanity. So we got to have the mindset that we're going to need to change. Everybody needs to be on the same page, because I'm sure you come into this, is that, mom is usually like gung-ho, mama bear, let's change this. And the dad has to be dragged kicking and screaming into the whole, whole thing. So having the whole family on board that this is a problem we need to change, it makes life so much easier. And then we got to start looking at nutrition. Now we're cooped up in here, right, in this pandemic that we have going on. And everybody's like, oh, it's like no big deal because it's just temporary. It's our new way of life. Yeah. And we can't be eating the sugar, and we can't be eating the garbage that is not serving our immune system, that is in fact making our immune system worse and is making our eczema worse. So one of the things that we start walking through in my online course is we start talking about what is in your pantry. What things are good for you, what things are not good for you. Sugar, how do you tackle that? How do you deal with picky kids? Because that's the biggest part. Is the picky kids. Then it's the finances, right? And so we break it down where we make it financially affordable to eat well, because everybody's like, oh my God, only the fancy people eat amazing. I'm like, no, it's actually the people that are willing to put work into it eat well, because that's the problem. It costs money if you want a chef to come in and do like fancy cooking. But to eat food that grows from the ground is not expensive, but you got to put it together in your kitchen, and it takes time and effort. Not
in the microwave, right?
Yes.
The easy meals, we grew up with the microwave cooking, and Hot Pockets is what I grew up with.
Hot Pockets and frozen pizza.
Right. It's just easy. I have a mom of 4 that I'm working with right now, and she has 2 kids with disabilities, one with autism and another with a disability. And she's like, where do I start? But she was willing, and it does take, it's very hard effort. It's not something that's just going to come overnight. It's going to be a daily thing that you have to work with. And I tell people, it's just you're fighting for your kids. And, and parents and moms and dads I see every day fight for their kids, for their health, because when they see their children suffering and they know that there's something they can do, and deep down, they know it's something that needed to start at the pantry, at the house, the lifestyle, the stress. So how did you, you were talking about what you do as the, kitchen changes, and I see a lot of your recipes that I like to use on Instagram. But another thing you were saying is stress. So how does your family deal with stress, and what kind of stress were you guys under? Like you were talking about the stress and the nutrition. So how do you do with your 3 kids with the stress?
Well, I, like majority of my American cohort, is we felt that if our children are exposed to everything, they're going to be well-rounded individuals. So my children were in, 3 kids in 3 different sports, in Spanish, in piano, in drama. We're running like crazy. And then on top of that, I'm trying to make a difference in children's lives, and I want to be heard. So I'm traveling across the country to be on TV, across the country to speak at different engagements, be on local TV all the time. I mean, I'm driving people nuts. And so, and then when you, the mom, are on a high gear and trying, so my other moms in my practice, they're volunteering in 1,000 things and being involved in 1,000 kids. So we're all, just because one is on TV and one is in the school doesn't mean that's any less. It's still busy. The body still perceives it as very busy and stressed. And then having my kids in all these activities and driving all over the place, putting like 300,000 miles on my minivan, in a 10-mile radius,
Right.
is insane. And that messes up everyone's sleep. That messes up, your immune system. So now I'll tell you, the best thing about quarantine is I can't travel anywhere. All my TV appearances are on Zoom. I can go from the comfort of my kitchen. All my kids, any extracurricular activities they have is Zoom. So family meals are more peaceful. We're not running. My anger is under better control. And that when mama's system is under less stress, the children's system is under less stress. A lot of people feel they're like, oh, well, I don't talk to my kids about my stress, so therefore they don't know or feel the stress that I'm under. I can tell you the kids will sense the stress from a mile away.
Right.
I mean, don't you think?
They know. Mm-hmm.
We were, in New Zealand after 6 weeks of being there, and we had no friends, no family. I was waiting on my visa to work. My kids came home 6 weeks independently on the same day after school. And each one was like, I love coming home. It is so relaxing these days.
Oh,
and I was like, oh my gosh, what have I been doing to my kids?
Right.
Because you don't realize it because you're in it. And you think you're like, oh, we need to do this and we need that and we need this other thing. And because we're going to fall behind, because if my kid isn't on 1,000 sports, they're not going to be in the best college, because who cares? We just need to simmer down. Yeah.
It's actually a blessing, right? I mean, the COVID happening, I know is bad, but you got to look at the positives, so you're saying a lot of families now are staying at home. They're actually probably learning how to cook. Maybe the kids are even cooking now, because they have the time. Are you noticing that?
Totally. So many of my families are doing so much better. Actually, I usually say, I'm like, this is an integrative doctor's dream, actually, aside from the really bad stuff that,
Right. Yeah. All that stuff going on. But the thing is, people are realizing it too. They are realizing how much it is important to be at home and to do family meals and to go on walks. At our neighborhood now, I don't usually take the time to walk with my kids because I usually don't have the time. So now we've been doing that, and I see other families out there walking. So, I just see more and more activities kind of around that, which has been good. So hopefully, when the change does happen and things get better, that we continue to stay with what you're saying, what we've learned with this pandemic going on is family time.
Right. I mean, and one of the things I think that you just said, I'm like, have you seen, I don't think that I've ever seen more people riding bikes, going for walks, playing with their kids, right? Like then.
Right. Oh yeah.
Right? It's everyone. I'm like, this is amazing. And then I'm like, and I had a reflection. I was like, we work so hard to have the house or the apartment, to have these kids, right? Because kids are very expensive. So we have these expensive children, and then we buy this land, and we're always working. Like we're not appreciating our spouse. We're not appreciating our kids. We're not enjoying our dog because we're running around like ragged. And all of a sudden it was been like this great pause and reset. Like here you have, this is what you've built. Now enjoy.
Now enjoy. Right.
Yeah. And people that are like, oh my God, it's so annoying. I'm like, but you made all these kids. And this is who you are partner up with, and this is a dog you got. Like, this is it. This is what you've been. Now either enjoy it or you're going to have to make changes kind of thing. But it's our reset that finally we could just enjoy what we're creating.
Exactly. And you have 3 kids, and how old are they now?
18, 16, and 13.
And they're all at home? I guess you have a senior?
Yeah, my
Is that
college.
18?
No, she's
Oh, college.
so she's about to be 19. So she's engineering at NC State, and so she came home, and she actually was in Rwanda for spring break, and came back via Amsterdam. So I think she brought COVID, and I brought COVID from one of my travels. So we already I'm certain we had it.
Right.
She's doing college from here, and then my junior in high school is doing high school from home, and then I have a 7th grader.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. How old are
And
your kids?
yeah, so I have an 18-year-old. He's a senior.
Okay.
And I have, the girls are 11 and 13.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. So they're, it's kind of the same thing. We got the 3 kids kind of going on. And that's why I continue to fight, because that's what I wanted my kids. I didn't want my kids to live the way I lived. And so the things that you're doing now for your kids and the next generations, that's what we want to see change. It's the future generations, which is exciting. And if we can keep them off meds and have their brains function properly, because still today, as much as you're out there, as much as I'm out there, there's still so many kids suffering, and so many kids are taking meds for this and that. So I encourage you to keep going and not only just enjoying your life, but I know your message is getting out there. And even if it changes one person daily, it's so worth it. So worth it. So I appreciate you and everything that you've done. Is there anything else you'd like to share to our people that are listening today?
Well, I appreciate the fact that we are our community is growing, and I think, before we were very separated in our purpose. And I feel that we're much more joined, and we're working together and from different aspects, because you need all aspects of health. It's not just one thing. It's not just nutrition. It's not just chiro. It's not just your stress. We have to look at the whole picture. And when you have a whole team that speaks the same language, is so refreshing and so nice. And we make bigger changes. And I totally agree with you. I'm always like, it's about changing one person at a time, and also making one small change at a time. I feel a lot of time when people are like ready to make a change, they're like, and now we throw out the pantry, and
Right.
and we revamp everything, and then everyone gets stressed out and nothing happens. And my motto is like, be better today than you were yesterday, and you just keep going a little bit at a time. Small steps add up to great change. And none of this stuff that you and I do is for a quick fix. It takes time and it's hard work, but we're doing a foundation. So if you take care and putting the effort now, overall, it's going to be less effort, less expenses, less heartache in the long run if you're willing to put in the work now. But if you keep on putting a pill and like, I'll take care of it later, I'll do it later, then you have such a monumental obstacle, and, financially, effort and all that stuff. So I'm like, take the step for a change now. Realize that there's hope, that if you're struggling with anything, there's a different way of doing it where you can be done with the struggle. It's going to be a different kind of struggle, but it's going to be towards your wellness, where your effort is going to be cooking together, eating together, de-stressing together, rather than what side effect of medication, which specialist am I going to see, where am I going to fly to now, in a different. So I just encourage people to just small changes a little bit each day makes a great impact.
Oh, I totally hear you, because people do think they need to throw away the whole pantry. And if they do that, it does create a lot of stress. So, just one recipe at a time.
That's a good one. Well, yeah, one recipe at a time.
At a time, and getting the kids involved and making it fun. I think that's a big thing too, because it can be stressful. And so you don't want it to be stressed, just like learning can be stressful. Like right now we're homeschooling, right? So I'm like, let's make this fun, learning about the Mexican culture, what can we do to, instead of like, oh gosh, I got to write an essay on this. So it's all how you perspective and how you look at things. And like you said, that's right on, one thing at a time, and don't eat or what does it say? What's the slogan? How do you eat a pizza? Like one slice at a time. You don't eat on the whole pizza. Yeah. Or the bite. So. But I do appreciate so much of your time. I'm going to put a link to your eczema course. It sounds amazing. And there are so many people suffering with eczema. And, those steroid creams, I mean, they are just so horrible, not just for this, because I see it, like you were saying, they see it as a skin problem, but it's not a skin problem. It's so much deeper than what you're saying, and it's all integrated. Even the nervous system is integrated with the skin, and you got your digestive system and everything else. So people are searching and people are wanting to know answers. And there's so many of us that are trying to help others. And so you offering this online program is an easy way just to log in, learn more, and to help your children. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I hope you have a lovely rest of the day.
Thank you so much. It's been great. It's so great to connect with you again.
All right.
Day.
Thanks for listening to the No More Meds podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share your favorite episodes with your family and friends, or at least leave a review on iTunes or Stitcher. The content and opinions expressed are those of the host and presenters. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. Product statements have not been evaluated by the FDA.